Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name is Thomas, back on the channel today with another opposition view. The fixture's coming thick and fast at the moment with another big side we're coming up against. Of course, we've just beaten Chelsea and Leicester. Let's hope we can continue our good run this weekend coming up against Arsenal. Joined today by Harry from Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry, introduce yourself, tell us about your channel.
Yeah, Chronicles of a Gooner is an Arsenal-themed channel. It's not been very pleasant lately, given the sort of results that Arsenal have been experiencing. But, you know, we still love the club and we still keep plugging on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We really do appreciate it. And we'll start off before all the results, before we get into Arteta, all that kind of discussion. Let's talk about the transfer window. What do you think of Arsenal's transfer business?
It was a strange one because it felt as though most of the business that Arsenal did over the summer was good business, but it felt like we needed more. I think we all kind of were banking on the fact that Arsenal would be able to get rid of a lot of players in the summer. And obviously, for a number of reasons, you got the pandemic and various other factors. It just made it really difficult to do that. And Arsenal ended up actually being stuck with a lot of the dead wood that has really stunk out the club in the last few years. And we're still sort of suffering from that. In terms of the players we brought in, though, Gabriel, I think, has been brilliant, probably our best defender this season. He's the kind of dominating centre-half that Arsenal have been missing for years. And in the middle of the park, of course, Thomas Partey was fantastic to get that one done on deadline day. Of course, he's injured at the moment, and we're struggling a little bit without him in that midfield department. The other player that we brought in was Willian on a free transfer. That one hasn't really worked out. And of course, Dani Ceballos returned to the club from Real Madrid on loan for another season. So it was an okay window, but I think every sort of sensible Arsenal fan out there recognises that, you know, we're going to need another 3 or 4 windows of that sort of nature to be able to get closer to where we need to be again.
Yeah, and on the other hand, what did you make of Everton's transfer business in the summer?
Yeah, Everton have done some really good business. I'm a massive fan of Carlo Ancelotti. I wanted him to come to Arsenal when Arsene Wenger left. And of course, he took the Everton job just a few days after Mikel Arteta took the Arsenal job. So I was very much beating the drum that I wanted to see the club go after Carlo Ancelotti. I think he's got the experience. He's probably been one of world football's best managers over the last sort of 30 years or so. So I'd have been delighted to have him. He's brought in the right players, hasn't he, at Everton? I still feel like Everton are lacking a little bit of depth in some of the areas, though. But obviously, you know, the signing of James Rodriguez started off really well. Alan fills a really important position in the middle of the park. So, yeah, been really impressed by what Everton have done so far, and I think they're going to have a good season.
Yeah, and now we'll probably get into the most unpleasant section of the video for you. We'll start talking about results. Arsenal currently sitting 15th, 4 wins, 2 draws, and 7 losses, I believe. I can imagine what you're going to say here, but what have you made to you start the season, and where do you think it's going wrong for you so far?
It's been dreadful. The home form has been a real problem. You know, we lost 4 consecutive home games against Leicester, against Villa, against Wolves, and then against Burnley. So you're not talking about the traditional big 6 coming to the Emirates and winning. You're talking about clubs that really we should be beating. And I don't mean to sound like a snob when I say that, but, you know, Arsenal throughout the Premier League era have been one of the big boys. And so to be losing home games to Burnley and various others has become a real issue. What do I put it down to? It's a number of factors. I think that the tactics haven't always been quite right from Mikel Arteta. I feel as though there's been a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of those running the club. In terms of Mikel Arteta's own relationship with some of the players, that's been strained at times. And I think all the stuff going on in the background has had a really negative impact on the field. Having said that, though, this group of players are still better than 15th in the Premier League. And so you can't help but feel they're massively underachieving. And it's impossible to make too many excuses for Mikel because he's got the tools there. And there are sides with worse squads, in my opinion, that are well above us at the moment. So we really need to take a good look in the mirror and try and sort of get our season back on track.
Yeah, and you mentioned Arteta's tactics there. Obviously, as you mentioned before, he's been in charge for a similar amount of time as Ancelotti have. It was quite quick. What have you made about his time on the whole as Arsenal manager? Obviously, this season's not going brilliant, but last season wasn't too bad.
No, last season wasn't too bad. And of course, he won the FA Cup, which was kind of, it was massive. And it got sort of all the Arsenal fans on his side immediately. And it's interesting because actually prior to that, we didn't ever really experience that new manager bounce under Mikel. It was kind of like it threatened to pick up and then it would dip again. And it was very up and down. The FA Cup, in my opinion, papered over a lot of cracks. But having won the FA Cup the way we did, beating City in the semi, Chelsea in the final, I think everybody expected us to, if not definitely finish in the top four, at least be there or thereabouts, and at least trying to challenge for it, even in the top six. And we're just a million miles off that at the moment. In terms of Mikel's tactics, I feel like he's been a lot more pragmatic than people expected him to be when he got the job. Everybody was very much of the opinion that if he's worked under Guardiola, that means he's going to come and want to play this swashbuckling and attacking football. And that hasn't been the case. He's been a lot more pragmatic than people expected. And at times that's been justified, and it's seen us pick up results. It's seen our defensive record up until the last 3 weeks really improve. But I feel like we've lacked that bravery in certain games, and that's caused us problems.
Yeah, and obviously last season you won the FA Cup, you did secure European football, of course. This season I definitely thought you were going to be in, and obviously there's still plenty of time to be in with a shot at European football again. What do you think Arsenal's goal now is for the season, obviously after this disappointing start, and where do you think you might end up towards the end of the season?
It's interesting because this league is so strange this year. You know, you can win 4 or 5 games on the bounce and all of a sudden the landscape looks very different. So I'm not going to rule out Arsenal challenging for a top 6 position. I think a top 4 position is too much. And I can't see Arsenal achieving that. Top 6 is still doable, but we need to turn our form around quickly. Look, I think Mikel Arteta's priority is to get Arsenal back in the Champions League, obviously, not just because of what it does in terms of status, but in terms of the finances. Arsenal have been running on a Champions League club budget for the last 4 years and haven't been in the Champions League, and that's caused a massive problem. So I expect Mikel Arteta to reassess the situation a few months down the line and maybe decide that actually let's go for broken the Europa League, because that does offer us an alternative route into the Champions League. And it is a competition that if we get our act together, I think we're capable of winning.
Yeah, no, we'll focus more on the game now. You mentioned a couple of injuries like Thomas Partey. What do you think Arsenal's likely lineup is going to be for the match on Saturday?
Well, obviously Gabriel's suspended now, which is a big blow. So I think you'll probably see Bern Leno in goal. Hector Bellerin, I'm not sure if he'll come back into the side. Knowing Mikel Arteta, he probably will at right back. I think the centre back pairing will be Rob Holding and David Luiz. Kieran Tierney will probably play at left back. Bukayo Saka will play in midfield, but dropping into that left wing back position like he does in this Arsenal side, particularly away from home. They turn it into a bit of a back five when they're out of possession. Obviously, Xhaka suspended, so it's likely to be Ceballos and El Neni in the middle of the park. And then I think Aubameyang will start up top. The other 2 positions are the hardest ones to call because Nicolas Pepe has been in and out of the side. Willian was dropped at the weekend. Maybe he'll get another look in. You know, it's a difficult one to say, but it's the 3 front positions that, apart from Aubameyang, the 2 remaining front positions that are up for grabs. I think everything else is pretty much set in stone.
Yeah, and then looking at that team compared to our weaknesses, obviously we have had pretty poor defensive record. Obviously the last 2 games haven't been too bad. Who do you claim are the danger men for Arsenal and who we should be looking out for?
Obviously, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he's not had a great season so far, but he did get a goal on Sunday. Midweek. He did get a goal, which was obviously massive because it kind of lifts that monkey off of his back now. There's been a lot of talk about him not caring as much since he signed the new contract. I don't think that's the case. I think the team have been in poor form, and it's just coincidental that his blip has come out at the same time as, you know, him signing that contract. I think Aubameyang scoring again is massive for Arsenal. It was the biggest positive to take away from that Southampton game. So obviously look out for him. Bukayo Saka was very, very good against Southampton. Arsenal's best player, in my opinion, made things happen down the left regularly. So he's another player I'd say that Everton have to keep an eye out. But look, if I was an Everton fan, I'd be very confident going into this game because I think you've got all the tools to hurt us.
Yeah, just who do you think are our key danger men then? If you think there's areas we could definitely exploit. Of course, we don't know if James Rodriguez will be back. He has been injured for the past couple of games, but let's say that he is. Who are you most concerned about coming up against?
The 2 players I'm most concerned about will be Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. For me, Everton without Richarlison are a completely different animal. They lack that intensity at times up top. I think he gives so much work rate and so much energy to the team. I know he can be a little bit petulant at times, and he can be a little bit sort of a bit of a maverick. But for me, he's so important to that Everton side. So I'm obviously worried about Calvert-Lewin's threat inside the penalty area, and of course Richarlison's threat down that left-hand side, because for me, he's the player I really like and someone I'm very wary of.
Yeah, and just two more questions just to round off. First of all, what are your score predictions for the game? If you're someone that likes to make predictions, I know some people don't.
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I'm going to be optimistic and go for a 1-1 draw. And that just shows you where we are. That I can't get behind a victory yet. I'm saying I'm being optimistic. So yeah, I'll go with a 1-1 draw. I think that Arsenal will go to Goodison Park very much with the attitude not to get beat, because we're trying to stop a rot at the moment, and that is obviously the first step in doing that. Managed to get the draw against Southampton. We've got a couple of players missing through suspensions and a few injuries as well, so I think a draw will be a very good result, and I think that's what Arsenal will be playing for.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling slightly more confident. If you asked me before the Leicester and Chelsea games, I was very much on the fence about this one. We were in a really poor run of form. Obviously, it's picked up for us. I'm going to predict a 2-1 Everton win. Because I think we are going to concede. We've kept some good clean sheets recently, but our defence can still be a bit shaky as much as it has improved. And then final question, as you know, we like to ask a random non-related to the game question. What's your best, worst or strangest experience you've had with a footballer that you can think of?
I don't really know if I could name the footballer, if I'll get in trouble for naming it, but it was a former Arsenal midfielder. So I'll tell you this: it was a former Arsenal midfielder, and I used to work in a bank, and that former Arsenal midfielder came in one day to purchase a car. Wanted to make a transfer of well over £100,000 to buy a car, and they had no money in their bank account, and I just found that really, really strange. It turned out that actually their management had moved the money to another bank and the player was unaware of it. But for me, sitting down at the desk with a footballer to make a high value transfer, opening the account and having to tell him, sorry, sir, you've got no money in your account, I found really, really strange.
Yeah, we've definitely heard some brilliant stories, but that's another interesting one to say the least. I mean, we've heard stories about people going out, to the pub with players and they couldn't name them just in case they got in trouble with the manager, stuff like that. But thank you all very much for watching. That does bring us to the end of our video. Thanks, Harry, for coming on. Definitely check out his social media down below. Obviously, I'm hoping for a good Everton result, as I always say, but obviously, you never really know in this league. It's a bit all over the place at the moment. As I mentioned, check out the social media down below. And thank you very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.